All right, so today we are going to take a look at these three projects. So we have the cell, bits, and cylinder. So this is kind of the bubble metaball series, right? And to actually make these, I followed closely a tutorial from Ducky 3D. So you can see here his channel, and the video is this one. I think I can actually show you the exact video. So I'm gonna have a link down on the post on Patreon so you can actually see the tutorial that I followed. So it's this one. And I just loved the way he was working with the Metaball parts, right? Really great content. I learned a lot. And I wanted to show you some of the modification that I made to it. Of course, shout out to Ducky 3D. So if you want to learn exactly how to make this, go watch his tutorial. Right now, I'm gonna jump inside of the first project and I'm gonna show you pretty much what's happening. So we have two area lights, we have our camera, a plane, and another plane. So I'm gonna go off my camera here, and you can see how the scene file looks like, right? So I'm gonna get back inside of my camera, and I'm in the geometry node tab. And right, so let's start off. Of course, Ducky is making a lot more sense when he explains how to make this. But yeah, we start off with Bezier curve line. We get the position of the points. We add some displacement to those points. Inside of the offset of the set position, we add a curve to mesh with our circle as our profile, and we get something like that. Of course, you can always inside of the file change how this looks like. So I'm gonna change this just a little bit like that. After that, we have to change the mesh to a volume. We distribute a point to this volume. So as you can see here, now we have a lot of points distributed onto that curve Bezier mesh that we have. And after that, we have a lot of stuff happening right now, but it's fairly straightforward. So here I have, so let's put the output right here. So we actually have two sets of ball of aquasphere that we are creating as intents on those same points. However, we just change the random value. So having a random value is something that I added extra that wasn't in the Ducky 3D tutorial. Just have that in mind, because I just like, when the stuff are not the same size. And I can actually show you. So we have the set position, right? I'm gonna take the first set of balls. So that's pretty much it. So these are the big ones, and I think these are the smaller ones, right? And I'm gonna put everything back in order. I'm gonna enable my viewport shading X-ray so we can see what's happening. And this is pretty much the outcome using the random value here at the scale. If I change that, we see that they are all now the same scale. So I'm gonna put that back in. Yeah, so the way this works is we have points distributed inside of our curved volume that we had, and we are getting all the point of that volume. We are displacing it even more. We have a multiply factor to change the scale on each axis, of course, and then these points are split into our two instants on point, where we have our icosphere and our random values. So the random values, I made sure that the inside part, the inside balls are smaller than the outside layer. So, the max is 0.8 and here the minimum is 0.9. So this is how I made sure that there's no overlapping between the inside and the outside. And after that, you do need to realize instance to be able to change the mesh back to volume and the volume to mesh, right? We have reset material to be able to have different material for the inside and the outside, a join, geometry node, and set shade smooth. So that's the same setup that you will find on Ducky 3D video. Yeah, apart from that, I didn't change a lot. I did, however, did some change inside of the shader editor. So here we have the 0.5, which is the inside of the ball. So it's a black thing, and the material here, which is the glass, is a simple glass shader. And that's pretty much it. After that, I played around with my lighting setup. So we have so we have two very thin lights. So as you can see on top here, this is a red area light, and on the side we have a white kind of bluish light to get this nice reflective shininess on them. And of course the background, let's go back to the composed. Right, so we have the background. It's a plane with an emission shader, color ramp, gradient to gradient texture, mapping, and texture coordinate. So in Blender, there's a lot of steps to be able to actually map the texture onto an object. In Cinema 4D, Octane, or even Redshift, you just have one simple node to be able to apply this the way you want, either triplanar or cubic or spherical projection. Here, there's a couple more steps. You need to take the texture coordinate of the mesh, apply a mapping node to be able to have all those changes, and after that, a gradient texture, in this case to apply a gradient color. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's take a look at the render settings. Viewport render, so 2048 max sample, and the denoise option, of course, it's still open image denoise. Now I am using Optic X. So this was made with the 4.4 Blender update, right? Now I'm at the 4.5, so just have that in mind. All right, so let's close this one and jump inside of the second project, which is the bytes. So the idea behind this one was to be able to kind of change the sphere, right? And because I wanted to try and figure out a way on my own to make something different. And I didn't change a lot from the setup. The only thing that I changed was to add a cube instead of spheres, right? And apart from that, yeah, everything is pretty much the same. Something that I might have added was inside of the compositor option was the glare. So I added 2 glare nodes. Actually, no, only 1 glare node, which is the fog glow. So a tip that I didn't really know and I couldn't find anywhere on Google is how to actually see the glare inside of the viewport. So you actually need to be here on the shading, on the renderer view. Click here, and as you can see here, we have a compositor which is now disabled. You just have to press always, and you will see the glare that you have applied in the compositor tab. So yeah, I'm really glad to finally have found this one out. But yeah, I did change a little bit the lighting setup. I think I added one more light down here below, which is a kind of a cyan color, but that's pretty much it for this one. And the last project, which is the cylinder one. So here I made a couple more change inside of the geometry node. And as you can see, there's a lot more happening, right? So we have our Bezier curve here. Nothing changed here. I just took the same as I had for the two first project. But I wanted to play around with the cylinder one, with the cylinder primitive instead of the cube or the icosphere, and I added three varied size cylinder to it. And as you can see here in my shading, we actually have this kind of outline, glowing outline from the cylinder. And yeah, so I wanted to have that to be able to add an emissive texture, to have kind of those wheels happening. So yeah, not a lot to talk about these three specific projects, because I follow very closely the Ducky tutorial, and for this was the third day I got it in Blender, and a lot of time, when you're starting off a new software, the best thing you can do is actually just do step by step a tutorial to learn a little bit more about the nodes. And yeah, that's how I'm learning Blender. And we are going to see in other videos, I'm going to talk about some other tips and tutorials that I follow to be able to achieve what I made. So usually I do include inside of the files a link to the tutorial I followed. So right now, for these specific three, I think I only tagged him on my social media when I post at least the first one. But yeah, I'm gonna try to add a little bit more details inside of the files if I can remember it. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.